We live. We are live.
Man.
Live and alive.
You know what? The name of the show should be called Where Do We Start? Because where the hell do we start with this show today, man?
Bro, so the last time we had a show, I was on vacation last week, and I should have stayed on fucking vacation. But the last time we talked, the Hornets had hired Kenny Atkinson as their new coach, and we were all talking about that. How things can change over the course. You know, I caught COVID last week. That's why we're not in the studio, and that ain't even the worst shit to happen this week. Because
is it the more things change or the more things stay the same?
You know, I think the Hornets were just like, you know what, let's just have everyone talking about us for the wrong reasons this entire week.
Cause remember during the Bobcats days where we used to say, you know what, the Bobcats are just not an interesting team. Man, how that's changed, boy.
Yeah.
The Hornets always give you something to talk about now.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Ryan? There's so many things to start with. So
yeah, Ryan, get your popcorn ready, buddy.
So we could either start with let's start with the draft.
Let's start with the draft. Yes,
because I don't think the draft is the big. It's not the big thing that Hornets fans are making it out to be. I'll be honest with you.
I agree.
For those who we didn't do a draft party this year because I had COVID and we all watched the draft from afar, and Hornets fans everywhere were excited when with the 13th pick, the Hornets drafted Jalen Duren out of Memphis, and then 30 seconds later traded him to Detroit for, at the time, the terms were unknown, and then drafted Mark Williams from Duke with the 15th pick. Now, a lot of Hornets fans were upset because they were excited about the Jalen Duren pick. We'll talk about that specifically in a moment, but it was weird because no one really seemed to be happy about the Mark Williams pick.
Right.
I think people allowed the terms of trading away Jalen Duren to cloud what they thought about what I thought was objectively a good pick in Mark Williams at 15. Okay.
Right.
Because everyone had said, well, the Hornets should either draft, if Shaedon Sharpe isn't available, which he was not, he was off the board, they should either draft Jalen Duren or Mark Williams. And they ended up drafting both, and they traded one away and got what some people will consider not to be much in return. Okay? In my opinion, I just don't think there was that's much ado about nothing for that.
Cause let me cut in real quick, man. As far as this 13th pick deal is concerned, and Jalen Duren, man, I know Hornet Nation is wired to be mad. We are wired to be angry at all times. Yeah. You can blame it on the history. You can blame it on Michael Jordan. You can blame it on luck. You can blame it on anything you want to be. But we are wired to be mad. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, why am I not as mad as everybody else? And I think the reason for that is, man, I know a lot of people had the expectation. That's the key word here. I know a lot of people had the expectation, you know what? This is the night that we're going to get rid of Gordon Hayward's contract. It's going to happen tonight. This deal should be sitting around getting rid of Gordon Hayward's contract. Now, the rumor all week, and that rumor intensified all the way up until the draft, was Detroit was very interested in taking on Gordon Hayward. But for some reason, it didn't fall through. Now, here's my theory on that. Now, I want to be clear. This is not inside information. This is just something that I kind of surmise that happened. Because I think Detroit wanted both picks. I think they told Charlotte, look, if you want to unload Gordon Hayward's contract, you better give us both of those picks. And Mitch Kupchak probably said, hell no, I'm not doing that. And we took what we could get. And I think that's basically it, my man.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think Mitch was trying to – he really wanted to trade those picks, which is what I have been saying. This is how you offload Gordon Hayward or Terry Rozier's contract. no one else is going to want it on its own because it's not an expiring deal quite yet. Offer up a pick or two with it. And I think at the end of the day, Detroit said, no, we just don't want to take on, almost $30 million, and a deal couldn't be made. That happens all the time.
Right.
He made the best deal available, which was to trade Jalen Duren for, I think a future first and some second round picks.
Right.
I think a lot of people, like Ryan says, a lot of people feel like their return on Jalen Duren was lacking, though, value-wise. I don't disagree with that, but it's very hard to make a draft day deal that, that is just like, okay, that like where we say, okay, that makes sense. Here's the thing. When it comes to trades, and I think everyone watching will agree with this, the goal is to cheat the other team out of something.
Right.
There's always a winner and a loser in every deal. No one's going in and saying, well, yeah, okay, this is a fair deal. They may say that to other GMs, but really they're thinking, how can we fleece the other team? And I don't think there was enough time to really, try and find a way to fleece something good out of Detroit for Jalen Duren. So Mitch just said, hey, I got to take what I can get. And I also think that Mark Williams was always the guy that they wanted. I think that was their guy.
And let me speak to that as well. And Kaza, I want you can answer this out loud. You can answer this to yourself. And y'all in the chat, y'all can answer this too. And I could be wrong about this. Mark Williams was the only name. When I say the only name, I mean the only name Hornets fans had in their mouth for months. Okay, that is the only guy we wanted for months and months and months and months and months. I never expected us to be in play for Jalen Duren. I never heard Hornets fans say anything about Jalen Duren. I never saw any mock draft linking us to Jalen Duren. And all of a sudden, Kaza, Jalen Duren is damn Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. All of a sudden, we missed out on this game changer supposedly. Kind of weird to me.
Yeah. Hornets fans got to stop that. First of all, I don't think Jalen Duren is as good of a pick as Mark Williams is. I mean, stat wise, they're both the same. Jalen Duren is more athletic. A lot of people felt like he had more potential,
more upside,
But Mark Williams more NBA ready. He played a deep postseason run at Duke.
ACC Defensive Player of the Year.
I think Mark Williams was always going to be the pick. To answer James Carr's question about why rush for a draft day deal, I think because a lot of GMs cool off after the draft. If you wait a few days after the draft and then you start shopping around the pick, man, that you've given the other potential trade partners ample time to do more research, to look at more film, and they may say, Jalen Duren, he might not be the guy that we want. Or after the draft is settled and you look at where your team stands, you may say, you know what, we want to hang on to this first round pick in these second rounders or whatever. I think that's why you want to get your draft trades done, and then give GMs time to lament it later. I don't think. Right. Here's the thing: Hornets didn't lose anything from trading Jalen Duren. They didn't lose anything. I don't think, except it's just that they probably didn't get 13th pick value out of a 13th pick.
Right.
And that's unfortunate. However, we got Mark Williams, y'all. I mean, it's like
the center that we've been crying about every 5 minutes. We finally got him.
Right. Yeah, we got. And I mean, okay, if you want a Jalen Duren, did we forget Kai Jones exists?
Which brings me to another point. I don't get. Help me understand how we cry about the young guys playing time from last year, but yet we're looking for people to replace them this year.
Yeah,
which one is it, man?
I've been excited about Kai Jones since anyone who watches the show knows that. Yeah, I was really excited about Kai Jones, and I wanted to see him play more last season, but for whatever reason, the team didn't think he was ready or whatever. But I expect him to get more playing time. Maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. But I expected him to get more playing time this season and try and see where he fits into a role. And I think that him and Mark Williams are two completely different kind of players, and I think that they could fit in very, very well in a system that transitions more to more reliance on the front court. We already have regardless of what you think about Miles Bridges, he's a pretty good wing player. And I do think the Hornets will re-sign him. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then you pair him with Mark Williams and then Kai Jones, and LaMelo Ball has his free choice of lob targets. I think that's just that's great. I really can't fault the Hornets for the draft. I hesitate to call the Jalen Duren trade like a misstep. It's just that we weren't able to get the value that you would like to see from a 13th pick out of it.
And my thing is, like, I hate to play the what if game, but let's say this: what if we keep Jalen Duren? What do we do with 15? You get what I'm saying? Like what value is 15 to us at that point?
I haven't heard this since, but I got the feeling that it was one of those Kobe Bryant kind of trades where you draft this guy and then we'll make the trade,
right?
The kind of thing. So yeah, like I said, I really think Mitch wanted to trade those picks
because here's where I'm going with this, Kaiser. Again, let's play the what if game. Okay, we draft Duren at 13. We keep him. We draft whoever else at 15. Where's room for all these young guys at this point on this roster?
I mean, we've had here's the thing. We've had a log jam at center for a while now, and none of those guys were good enough to be the guy.
Because that leaves so many questions, man. Like, we drafted guards, so now we got Book Knight pouting for another year. Okay, Nick Richards is still on the roster. They didn't waive Mason Plumlee, so you have this logjam now at the center and wing position. So
let me cut you off real quick. Let me ask you this: should they have waived Plumlee?
My answer is going to surprise you. No, they should not have. I'm going to give you two reasons why. Okay, you keep that $9 million. That $9 million may work out for us in the offseason. Look, no, we're forgetting that he may be a trade piece, and if he's not a trade piece, he's still the backup center. Let's think about this really objectively. Let's take our emotions out of this for a second. Is Mason Plumlee a bad backup center? Just think about that. Is he really that bad of a backup center? But I think more importantly, that $9 million is going to be used as trade bait this offseason. I really believe that, and I think that's what I think that's probably the real reason why they kept him.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. I don't think like waiving him moves the needle that much. And I don't think it really changes what the Hornets' plans are for their young centers. They probably would have saved only maybe, from what I understand, about $5 million.
Right.
And so I don't think it was, enough to make a difference about whether or not they wanted to waive him at that point anyway.
Because, and also think about it like this. Montrezl Harrell, he loves weed more than he loves basketball, so we don't expect him to be back. Did that happen after our last show? There's so much that's happened, man. I can't keep up, bro. I think I might have talked about it in my solo video last week.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But with that being said, man, we don't see him coming back next year. Are we trusting Nick Richards to get big boy minutes next year? You got Mark Williams, who you got to give playing time. So again, man, it just creates problems if you do waive Mason Plumlee. So,
okay, well, so let's just address this. Is a good segue into the elephant in the room. The Hornets made a coaching hire. They decided to bring back Steve Clifford, a very polarizing coach in the history of the Charlotte Hornets. Here.
Absolutely, man.
And so that begs the question: we know how different stylistically he is, or was at least, from James Borrego. We know this from his time in Charlotte and his time in Orlando. Steve Clifford, Does not do small ball. Doesn't
No.
really do small ball a lot.
Uh-uh.
And
That should make some Hornets fans happy.
Yep. He's very rigid with his rotations. He does not experiment a lot like James Borrego used to do. Steve Clifford is the kind of guy in training camp and preseason to say, you are the starter, you are the backup. This is what each of you guys do. Go out there and do it. You're going to do this every night, and nothing's ever going to change. So is that going to also? He doesn't like playing the young guys. Does not like playing the young guys. He likes the veterans. So does that change what's going to happen with Kai Jones and possibly Mark Williams and possibly Mason Plumlee?
Man, I'm going to tell you like this, man. Let me first say, I by no means think Steve Clifford is a bad coach. By no means do I think he's a bad coach at all. I need Hornets fans to, first of all, realize, and I know I'm answering this the long way, but just bear with me. Number one, the last time we were in a competitive playoff series, Steve Clifford was the coach. That's number one. Number two, he took a horrible Orlando Magic team at least to the playoffs. He took DJ Augustine, Michael Carter-Williams, Nick Vucevic, and Aaron Gordon to the playoffs. Okay? Now, to more directly answer your question, I think this hire, by the optics, looks probably worse than what it really is. But that doesn't mean I don't have questions. I have those same questions you basically just asked me. How is he going to mesh with the younger guys? What kind of offense is he going to run? You know, what kind of offense is he going to run? And mainly, how is he going to gel with LaMelo Ball? We all know LaMelo wants to get up and down the court. Matter of fact, this whole team wants to get up and down the court. Stylistically, Steve Clifford is the antithesis of that. Is he gonna be that chameleon that changes, or are they gonna have to adapt to Clifford?
Do we want to see the Hornets in a half-court offense?
No, I don't.
Do we? Because that's going to turn into ISO gang. That's what that's going to do.
That's going to turn out worse.
Yeah. Now, having said that, I do think that Steve Clifford may be willing to make some changes in his base philosophy,
right,
in order to maximize the talents
of
this team, while at the same time trying to get the guys to buy in to his philosophy, which is not shoot a lot of three-pointers, and which is not come down in court with your hair on fire and throw alley-oops.
Kaza, I want to make this point, man. Our main man, Mr. Jerry Valancourt. I don't know. You remember when he was on here, and he basically suggested that the Hornets kind of need more variety in their offense. Yeah. And I think this could be, and I use an asterisk when I say that, I think this could be a good thing if Steve Clifford creates a balance of the two. If we can create a balance of what Clifford coaches and the balance of what JB did, I think it could actually be a really good thing. But that's a big if, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you had the number one offense in the league last year. So,
don't mess that up too much.
No worse at any point in the season than number 5. And that's in both points per game and offensive rating. You don't want to mess that up, but you're down in I think 23rd in defense. If you can bring that defense up just a little bit without sacrificing your offense, the Hornets are in a really good position.
But you know what, though? I actually think, and I'm speaking strictly numbers. Okay, what if we sacrifice being number 1 in offense to maybe number 7?
That's not good enough. I'll be honest. It's not good enough.
But hear me out. But bring the defensive rating up to like 15.
But if you look at teams that compete for a chip, they're typically in the top 10 in both. So,
very true.
It really just depends on not just that, but I mean the talent of the roster as well, the makeup of the roster as well. I mean, we don't even know, is Kelly Oubre going to be a Hornet next season? If he is he going to be better than he was last season?
And let me tell you something, man. I don't see Kelly Oubre and Steve Clifford being a good fit. I'll just be completely honest with you, man. Kelly Oubre is not a Clifford type of guy. You know what I mean? I'm gonna tell you why I say that. Kelly Oubre, what was his job coming off the bench with Borrego? What was his job?
Shoot threes. Shoot
the ball. And JB was cool with that. He was totally fine with that. Steve Clifford is going to ask a lot more of Kelly Oubre. He's going to ask him to play a lot more under control. And I don't know if Kelly Oubre is going to buy into that, man.
He's going to want Kelly Oubre to be what Jeremy Lamb was.
Right. Here. And Jeremy Lamb had to go through a hell of an adjustment to get. Yeah,
Jeremy Lamb, he's going to want him to play defense. He's going to want him to, like you say, play control offensively. I don't see Kelly Oubre doing any of that. And you know what? I don't see LaMelo Ball doing any of that either. I don't see none of these guys doing that. I don't see it. So that's like was asked earlier. If these guys weren't going to listen to JB, why would they listen to Steve Clifford?
Okay.
Going to tell them,
I am glad you asked that question, man. And I don't. And Kaza, you can help. Y'all can help me out on this. Chime in on this, please, because this is something I've been thinking about, man. Steve Clifford, he is not going to be as nice as JB was. He's not going to be as accommodating as JB was. And quite honestly, I don't know if that is a good or a bad thing, to be completely honest with you. I think, and word has it, Michael Jordan agreed with me on this. I think they probably need somebody to get in their ass and yell at them a little bit more than JB did. But I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out.
Well, here's the thing. If you're doing that and you're winning, it's okay. If you're doing that and you're losing,
then you won't have a drop pass next season.
Yeah, then we might see Mike D'Antoni at the All-Star break. I just feel like that hire it reeks of desperation.
Cousin, no. It's not reeking of desperation. It is desperation. Ain't no reeking. No, it is hands down a desperate hire. There's no question about that.
Yeah, it just feels bad. And I'm not a Clifford hater. I wasn't a hater when he was here. I felt like he did the best job that he could with what he could. I do feel like the team with Dwight Howard should have made the playoffs because that was his guy. He wanted Dwight Howard here. They got Dwight Howard here, and they still couldn't make the playoffs, and I think that did him in. Jordan was like, hey, man, we got you. Okay, this is the team that you wanted. This is the team you built.
I think both him and Dwight Howard got scapegoated that year.
I think so as well, but, I mean, they didn't make the playoffs, and it was just time for something new. So I don't think he's a bad coach, but it's like you're like, well, we need a new voice. We need a fresh new direction. So we're going to go to an old voice.
To an old direction.
Old direction. It's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But
Kaza, I hear me out on this. I hate to bring up old wounds and I hate to go backwards, but let's be honest, man. Kenny Atkinson left us in a very, very effed up situation, bro. You got to admit that. Like, that is unprecedented for you to have a coach, hire a coach, and then he said, you know what, I'm out, man.
Well, to answer real quick, Ryan says if they miss the playoffs, is Cliff gone? Oh, yeah. If you are coaching the Charlotte Hornets this year, you cannot miss the playoffs.
You can't miss the playoffs.
You cannot miss the playoffs.
Nope.
You better, like 45 wins is enough to barely keep your seat warm. You better catapult. You better. But
listen, me and Vince have been on the 50-win train since JB got fired, and it doesn't change because Clifford is hired. I'm still on that train. But go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
Now, so interesting. The thing about Kenny Atkinson, a report came out in the past week that one of the reasons that Kenny Atkinson pulled out of the coaching job was because the Hornets would not allow him to hire his own staff, mainly because they couldn't get the financials correct. I guess he was trying to negotiate the financial terms for his coaching staff, and the Hornets didn't want to pay it and said, well, we're going to keep our current guys as a coaching staff. And Atkinson said, okay, well, let me think about this, and decided to go back to Golden State. If that's true, I really can't blame Kenny Atkinson. If that's true, you're a coach and you're like, okay, I want to bring my guys in because, I mean, you're the coach, right? And
right.
Senior Hire is like, okay, yeah, but we don't really want to pay him what you think they're worth.
I just have one question. Here's my only question to that scenario. Why the hell was that not worked out beforehand, man? Like, that's my only question, man.
I gotta put that on the Hornets. I'm sorry, I gotta put that on Michael Jordan and Mitch Kupchak. You guys know I defend Michael Jordan because he's not the GM, but this is an owner kind of thing. This situation, I think he's got to own up to it. That's, like you said, that's got to be something.
That's got to be worked out beforehand.
Yeah. You bring your own coaching staff, and I'm sure the conversation probably went something like this. Well, hey, I'd like to bring my own guys in. Of course, you can bring your own guys. That's what we would expect. Okay, lawyers and everyone come in, they start signing paperwork. Okay, well, I need my guys to make this. Whoa. Our current guys don't make this.
But here's something to add to that, man. Now, you know that I don't know if you saw that clip floating around of Steve Kerr basically saying Kenny didn't want to move his family cross country right after the finals.
No, don't believe
that's my question. Do you buy that or not? That's my question.
Yeah. No, that's not true. That's not true at all. Because that would have been discussed. First of all, it wasn't just like out of the blue that, hey, the Hornets and other teams were looking at Kenny Atkinson. But, you know, Kenny Atkinson went from being a head coach for 4 or 5 seasons to being an assistant coach. He's always looking for a head coaching job, So his family, that is one thing that I'm certain that his family is always talking about and prepared for, the possibility of him
moving.
He'd only been to Golden State 1 year. Right. So you're trying to tell me they go to Golden State and his family's like, you know what? No, this is it. We're good here forever. No, that I don't buy that at all. That's just Steve Kerr, because, you know, Steve Kerr and Michael Jordan are buddies. They're friends.
You went there before I got there.
Yeah, so Steve Kerr's not gonna. He's gonna try and give as diplomatic an answer as possible. Well, hey, you know, my guy just, you know, his family. You know, that's a cop out.
Could he at least let the Hornets know instead of letting Twitter know?
Yeah, that was kind of bad, but I don't think that was intentional. You know as well as anybody else, sometimes a source, you know, the people rush to get the story broken nowadays.
Everybody's got to be first.
Right, yeah, like I gotta get this out first. You know, and he had probably told his team and his lawyers and everybody, and then was probably going to contact the Charlotte Hornets, because that's a tough thing to do. Right. Man, I got to back out of this deal. And one of his people told somebody, and it got leaked out to Twitter.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen any reports of what Clifford's staff is going to look like at this point. Have you? Because I just want to look with that situation.
Yeah, I have not. I mean, what if he asked for the same kind of money Kenny Atkinson was asking for his staff? Then what are you gonna? I mean,
you can't drop that ball twice.
You can't. But then now you look stupid because you missed out on the coach you wanted, because this is all bad. The optics are bad. The
optics are horrible. The optics are really bad. Yeah.
I don't think hiring Steve Clifford is necessarily a bad move in itself.
But the optics look horrible.
Everything surrounding that situation looks bad. All the way from, I mean, first of all, firing JB was just it wasn't the right. They even said during the draft, they were like, "What the hell are the Hornets thinking?" So, I mean, you sign a guy, you re-sign a guy, you give him an extension, he gets a winning record. Your team does not make the playoffs, really, as a circumstance of how good the Eastern Conference was, and then you abruptly fire him, like just kind of like out of the blue, like you're fired, and then you lollygag around on finding a new coach because the playoffs still going, and then finally,
we got our guy, and then we don't have our guy.
And then you drop the ball on that, and then you're like, well, we need a coach. Hey, I know. And then you can't go back to JB because JB will laugh in your face.
By the way, Kaza, last week on my solo show, man, I gave this example. you're dating a girl, right? Okay, she's bad. She's the one you want. Like this girl is bad, right? And then you got this other girl who don't look as good. Okay. You got the bad girl, and then the bad girl dumps you and says, you know what, nah, I don't think this is going to work out. What's going to happen when you go back to the girl that doesn't look so good? What is that girl going to say to you? No, I'm not going to. That's Mike D'Antoni. That's exactly what happened with Mike D'Antoni. I really want to know exactly what happened in that Mike D'Antoni meeting, because that's not what we're talking about enough here, okay? There was a second meeting with Mike D'Antoni, and I just wonder what happened with that, man.
I don't know, because Mike D'Antoni is not Steve Clifford. He's not Kenny Atkinson. He's not James Borrego. Mike D'Antoni is a well-respected coach in the NBA with a near Hall of Fame-esque record. 2-time Coach of the Year. He's got almost a 60% winning percentage over the last 2 decades as a head coach. He's just not a guy that you dropped the ball on when it appeared that he was willing to. I mean, He interviewed twice. He interviewed multiple times, and then when Atkinson fell through, he interviewed again. He wants the job, obviously, but I'm thinking maybe it had to do with the assistants. Just imagine if Kenny Atkinson wanted too much for his assistants. How much?
Imagine what D'Antoni wanted for his. Right.
So, if it came down to a money thing, that's on Mike. That's on him. I'm sorry. Because we're not even talking about salary cap or luxury tax considerations here. This is just
that's important. This ain't right. This ain't salary cap management. This is just general money.
This is Jordan's money. This is
Jordan money for real.
This is man Jordan 3 money.
This is NASCAR money. This is Coca-Cola money.
This is Gatorade money. Yeah, this is money, and you got plenty of that, bro. So if I don't understand that. And the thing is, we'll never know unless somebody writes a tell-all or someone makes a documentary one day about how terrible the Charlotte Hornets were when Michael Jordan was the owner. Then we'll just never know how those deals fell through.
Yeah.
I mean, all we can say though is actually there is a question I want to. Okay, we'll go back here. With the development and the player slot with Clifford, no, but it will seem that way.
Yeah,
Clifford develops players very slowly, and you can say whatever you want about James Borrego not playing the youngsters or whatever, but Borrego and his staff had a more fast-tracked approach. Like, you're gonna play in the G League, and then we're gonna throw you to the Wolves. You're just gonna come in the game, and if you suck, bye.
That was your chance.
That was it. And I know people didn't like that because it felt like their guys aren't getting a chance, but everyone got a chance. It's like we said, PJ Washington, day 1 starter, Miles Bridges, year 2 starter, Devontae Graham, year 2 starter, got the bag, and those guys, for the most part, have all had the same path. Steve Clifford is not going to do that. Steve Clifford is not going to say, okay, you develop these skills, and then we're going to come back and we're going to give you some playing time and give you your shot. Nope, that's not. Your shot is going to come when a veteran gets injured or is just that bad. That's when the shot is going to come. So, I mean, I don't know. For years, I still feel like it's funny because it's been 7 years, almost to the day, that the Charlotte Hornets drafted Frank Kaminsky. Okay, it would have been like 3 days ago.
God, I just start itching. But what were you about to say?
And we all look at Frank Kaminsky, as a bust, as a mark on the Charlotte Hornets draft record, because we could have had Devin Booker, and that was the guy that I actually wanted, was Devin Booker, because I felt like the Hornets needed a shooter and a scorer at the time, because Jeremy Lamb was not cutting it, in my opinion. But we got Frank Kaminsky because we felt like Big Al was on the way out, and we needed a guy who could score inside, which Frank Kaminsky could do. But what do we do when we get him? We stick him behind the bench. Yeah, we stick him behind the bench, and he plays a stretch 3-4 role behind Marvin Williams. Really? Behind Marvin Williams? and then I don't know how many of you guys in the chat remember this, but we go to the playoffs that year. We actually make the playoffs that year against the Miami Heat, the team that seems to have our number.
I know where you're going with this.
And, Michael Jordan has to publicly call out Steve Clifford and say, you know what?
Maybe we should post him up a little more.
Remember that guy we drafted because we needed an inside scorer? Do that. Post him up. Play him on the inside. So Steve Clifford does. Frank Kaminsky has a great game in Game 3 of the playoffs. Scores like 15 points, 8 rebounds, and the Hornets win. And then he never does it again. Never does it again. And then so Frank Kaminsky, the very next few seasons, works on his ball handling, his outside shooting, all this stuff, and he continues to play that stretch 4 role that is just clearly he just not. Frank Kaminsky is just not that kind of player, but he tried, and then he gets shipped off to Phoenix, to where he has okay-ish.
And now he's no longer a Phoenix Sun, by the way. So.
Yeah, yeah. So I just felt like that's the kind of development you're gonna get from Clifford. You're gonna.
All right, Kaiser, I gotta ask you this question, man. So here's the report on why Clifford was hired. Okay. According to Adrian Wojnarowski, I hope I didn't screw that name up. Clifford was hired because of his relationship with Michael and Mitch. Is that a good or a bad thing, man? And let me ask you. I'm going to say this specifically why. Now, one thing that we have been dying for, as far as the Hornets, is for the front office and the coach to be on the same page. Now, here's something that I would try to sell you. Like, if I'm trying to sell you on this not being as bad as it seems, this is what I'm going to try to sell you on. The last time Clifford was here, it was Mike, Rich Cho, and Clifford. Now, it's Mike, Mitch Kupchak, and Clifford. Does that sell you a little more? Does that make you a little more positive about this hire?
No. The circumstances surrounding this hire overshadow the hire itself. If, let's say that after they fired James Borrego and they said, okay, here are our candidates, Steve Clifford was one of the candidates, and he ended up being the one they hired.
Yeah.
I'd still feel kind of lukewarm about that hire, but I'd say, okay, maybe they felt like he got a raw deal the first time around. He's familiar with the organization, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so they rehired Steve Clifford. But that's not why they hired him this time. They'll say that it is, but they hired him because
they're desperate.
Yeah, they needed a coach. They were desperate.
They needed a coach, yeah.
You can't go back to James Borrego because he'll shut the door right in your
face and give you the middle finger like he should, like he totally should. Yep.
So what other choices do you have? All the other candidates are gone. The guy you wanted got away. Who do you got left? You called Steve Clifford. Hey, big head.
How you been doing?
Yeah.
How you been?
WYD. And then here's the thing. If the Hornets don't perform well, he's gonna be the scapegoat.
Yeah,
perfect scapegoat. The Hornets underperform next season. Well, the coaching search didn't go like we wanted it to. When we had to bring in Steve Clifford for some stability, but our guys need a fresh young voice. Same thing. We're back to square one next season. if the Hornets don't have a good season. The Hornets could have a good season, and we'll still hear that. I mean, the Hornets had a pretty good season last year, right? And we fired that coach.
Right.
So there's no guarantee that Steve Clifford's job is safe. If somebody younger and sexier comes along, Mitch and MJ will just – they'll cut bait again.
If I'm Steve Clifford, like, how do I feel about this? I mean, look, man, there's 32 coaching jobs, and everybody's lucky to have one. But if I'm Steve Clifford must really just enjoy coaching. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if I'm Steve Clifford, I'm looking at this, I'm like, man, like, I know I'm a stopgap coach. You know what I mean? Like, I know I was hired out of disparity. I know why JB ultimately got the can. Why am I getting myself into this mess?
Yeah, I mean, he believes, like most coaches, that he can be the difference. And let's say the Hornets pull off an Atlanta Hawks, and by that I mean they shock the world and end up going to the ECF. Well, Clifford might stick around for a long time.
Oh, now everything's vindicated if that's the. Right, I think we all shut up if that's the case.
Either that, or I think if we see LaMelo have that year 3 jump that like Ja Morant had in year 3, or
right.
had in year 3, or Trae Young had in year 3, that then people will say, "Wow, look at the difference," regardless of whether it's true or not. Wow, look at the difference in. LaMelo has made under Coach Clifford. It will look very good on him if the Hornets make some improvements in areas besides necessarily their record.
Right. Now I want to specifically say this, man. I'm kind of stealing this from Vince. Like, we all have our standard as to what we realistically want from the Hornets next year. And I'm stealing this from Vince, man, because I think he said like 48 wins and at least a second round.
Yeah, first he said 50. I think he dropped it to 48.
Right.
And a second round appearance. Yeah.
I mean, are you agreeing with that, or do you have something different? I'm kind of thinking the same thing, honestly, man. But what do you think about that?
I feel like you gotta at least make the playoffs, regardless of what your record is. Okay. I think Hornets fans would be happy with a 500 record in a playoff appearance, even though to me that would be a step back from last season. And people will say, "How they didn't make the playoffs last season?" I think that would actually be a step back, but Hornets fans would be happy with that. I think, however, the expectation front should be a better win-loss record than last season.
Right.
And
that's definite.
At the very least, a competitive first-round playoff series. Now, if they make anything below the 6th seed, I don't expect them to win. I don't expect them to make a second-round playoff appearance because they went up against like Miami or Boston or Milwaukee or somebody like that. But if they make a 6th seed and up, then I think a win is really. If they make it all the way to a 4th seed, then you have to win that series. I think if you get the 4th seed and you lose in the first round, then you're in Mark Jackson territory. So I think. So having said this, I'm looking at the roster. If the roster as today stands as is constructed, let's say they don't make any more moves. So you got
which is entirely possible, by the way. But go ahead.
Yeah. So you got LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier,
hopefully,
Mark Williams, Kai Jones, PJ Washington, James Bouknight, Kelly Oubre, and Gordon Hayward. I air quotes because I mean he
ain't no telling.
He might play, he might not play, but on paper, hey, that's 48 wins. That's a 48-win roster.
It should be. It really should be.
So that's a better roster than last season. You got to figure LaMelo Ball is going to be much better. Miles Bridges is going to be all the young guys are going to be better. It's going to be a better team. I think you got to win 48 games, and I think a competitive. I'd be happy with a competitive playoff series. But here's the thing: 48 wins, though, it's probably going to put you in the 4th seed. 4th, 5th seed. And I feel like your 4th, 5th seed, you got to win, especially because we have won a series.
Right.
in 20-something years.
And I will go back to saying this, man. Let me. This is broken record time here on Under Construction. The Hornets made James Borrego the face of mediocrity. You basically said, "Hey, you are the reason we are stuck where we're at." So this next coach, regardless of who you are, now Steve Clifford, you have to take us over that hump. You are the guy to take us over that proverbial hump now. So everything you said kind of falls in line with that. Now, is that going to happen? That remains to be seen. I'm going to tell you one very important factor that will carry the Hornets to the heights that we want them to get to. Here's one very important factor, y'all. Maturity. Forget basketball stuff for a second. Forget all the analysis for a second. These kids are going to have to grow up next season. Nobody else wants to say that, all right? Let's hopefully cross our fingers, hope to God we re-sign Miles Bridges, which we're going to talk about in a short second here. Let's say we re-sign Miles Bridges, man. He's a part of that young core. They have to show that they are way more professional than they were last season. I know a lot of people are not going to like me saying that, but there were some maturity issues that leaked through the cracks these last couple of months, man, and we can't have that going into next season.
Yeah, on and off the court.
On and off the court.
I'm watching the NBA Finals last week before, and you know what? I'm thinking the whole time, there's no way the Charlotte Hornets are even remotely close to being ready for this.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong. Forget talent, forget Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. We know that part. We know how good they are, but you're seeing the professionalism that the Warriors carry. You're seeing the professionalism that the Celtics carry.
They won that series mainly because they were able to hold it together when the Celtics weren't. The Celtics' youthful exuberance got the better of them, and the Warriors were able to capitalize. I felt for Uday Udoka because he reminded me of James Borrego. Hey guys, I'm going to tell you exactly how to win this game, and then his guys go out and don't do it. Don't turn the ball over. Stop shooting 3-pointers.
Jason Tatum said it. Jason Tatum sets a damn NBA record for turnovers.
Right, yeah. Do those 3 things, you'll win the game and the series. And then the Celtics immediately go out in Game 4 and shoot 5 threes in a row and miss all of them. And I remember thinking, man, that's something the Charlotte Hornets would have done. That is so Hornets. So yeah. Now, did the front office enable the immaturity though?
Okay, let me answer that. That is a slippery slope. I'm going to tell you why that's a very slippery slope, man. You kind of have this I don't know what you call it, man. This kind of thing where it's like, okay, we got to make these young guys happy because they're the future of our team. Versus, damn, man, we really want them to kind of become more professional and become better professionals and mature. I just think it's a tough sled, man. You know what I mean?
I actually think this is the problem with having a former player who is the owner of the team. I'll tell you why. Think about the era that Michael Jordan comes from. There was no player coddling in Jordan's era unless you were Jordan, unless you were Jordan or Bird or Kobe or Shaq or unless you were like this elite superstar. But I think it's tough for Jordan to look at these players and see like, man, we really need to coddle these guys.
Right.
Whereas if you take Mark Cuban, all he does is coddle his players. Like everyone knows, like the Dallas Mavericks, first of all, like their training facility, from what I understand, is just like it's like
they got Xboxes in the locker room.
Right, it's like the Avengers headquarters, right? It's like because he doesn't care. He wasn't a player. He doesn't think, well, these players have to go through the same hardships that I went through. I think Jordan thinks that a little bit, and I think it's hard for him to navigate that slippery slope,
right?
Between coddling the players and at the same time, making sure that there is enough discipline. I do think the mock situation messed them up. I don't think the Hornets and that I think the Hornets feel like that's a black mark they'll never get rid of. They're the only team in the history of the league to have someone actually fail the scheduled drug program, and then you have stuff like Miles Bridges rapping about selling drugs and shooting people and drinking lean in his cup and stuff like that. And it's all little stuff. I mean, none of that really matters. But then you start adding stuff like Montrezl Harrell transporting weed across state lines. The media is eating that up. It makes the franchise look like they have those kind, like the front office allows that kind of stuff. So
hey, I want to address Ryan had a question about our second round pick, and I wanted to kind of discuss that a little bit. I won't spend too much time on it, but the guy name is Bryce McGowens. He went to Nebraska. I saw McGowens play a couple of times. I can't tell you I watched a lot of the dude, man, but here's what I do notice about the dude. One thing that is very telling about that pick, the Hornets, as soon as they acquired all those second round picks, they immediately traded 2 of them to move up to get the guy. So that means they really like the guy, and for good reason. Now, speaking of maturity, he won't have those issues. He's what we call a professional scorer, and I mean that in a lot of different ways. He's not gonna wow you with dunks and crossovers and all this other stuff. He's a very fundamentally sound guy who can put the ball in the hole, man. And I'm gonna tell y'all something right now, man. It's kind of a good problem to have, but he's gonna put a lot of pressure on James Bouknight, man. Watch what I tell you. I think this guy had first round value. I'm kind of using an NFL term here, but he had first round value, and I think they were very surprised that he was still available at that second round spot. So they used those draft picks to get the guy, man. So
I'll tell you this: whenever Mitch makes a deal that he just we need to jump on that.
Yeah.
It ends up
it's usually a good sign.
Yeah, it normally ends up paying dividends. My only thing about Bryce McGowens, he's not a great 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
I think he only shot less than 30% on 5 attempts a game, something to that effect. You got to be better than that if you want to play shooting guard in the NBA. But he's a natural 6'7", which I like tall shooting guards. Who doesn't, right?
Right, and which is very underrated when we talk about what the Hornets need. We need wing defenders as much as we need a center, man. You know what I mean? So maybe he'll help us in that regard as well.
Okay, Sherrod's question. I guess that'll be a good segue for us to talk about Miles.
Yeah.
Predictions and team in terms of offseason. Bells down to moves made by the front office. So part of the reason that they made that draft night deal was to free up money. In order to re-sign Miles Bridges. Now, they could have re-signed Miles Bridges anyway because they have his bird rights. And they actually would have been able to go over the soft cap without even going into the luxury tax in order to re-sign him. But generally, if you don't have to do that, then you shouldn't.
Then don't, right? Especially when you're not a championship contending team.
Yeah. You want to stay as far away from that luxury tax if possible. And Jordan he's never publicly said this, but everyone knows that he's not going to go into the luxury tax for a non-contending team. So they made
and I don't blame him for that. I'm sorry. I really don't blame him for that.
Right. Not if you're the Charlotte Hornets. If you're LA or whatever, by all means. But so now the Hornets pretty much have enough money free and clear to re-sign Miles Bridges. The max that he can receive from the Hornets is 5 years, $170 million. He cannot receive that from other teams, though. I believe the max is 5 years, $130 million that he can receive from other teams, which somebody will offer him that. And
absolutely.
Yes, the Hornets should match that. And I'd be absolutely shocked if they do not. If they don't match that, especially all of this draft day finagling that they did in order to free up space, I'd be really shocked if they decided, you know what? No, we're not gonna match 5 years, $130 million. It doesn't matter. I know people are gonna be like, "Well, do you think he's worth that?" It doesn't matter. Okay,
yeah.
The max is designed for situations like this. It is designed so you can keep your homegrown guys homegrown, so you can keep them with you instead of having them leave in free agency and go to other teams. You can offer them more than anybody else will. And now, as a restricted agent, you can keep him. So it doesn't matter if anyone thinks he's worth that or not. The Hornets should absolutely keep Miles Bridges. They found a diamond in the rough. He may not be a superstar one day. He may spend the rest of his career as a fringe all-star. But for a guy who was essentially the 13th pick, and to have a fringe all-star from the 13th pick, I think is pretty good. I mean, he's a building block and a core piece to our franchise. He would be very difficult to replace. Very, very difficult to replace Miles Bridges.
And you damn sure not doing that this season.
Yeah. You're not gonna do it this season. Plus, he's developed a chemistry with our best player and our franchise piece, LaMelo Ball. You need to try and foster that relationship. The Hornets absolutely must keep Miles Bridges. Beyond that,
who knows, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't think they're going to find a way to move Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward this season. It hasn't happened by now. I just don't think it'll happen. They're just going to hang on to Gordon and then deal him next season when his contract will be expiring, and everyone will want him then. I think the roster you see right now, that's our roster.
Yeah. Let me first of all, maybe I'm stating the obvious, maybe I'm not. But here it goes. If the Hornets do not re-sign Miles Bridges, it will be DEFCON 5 around here, and the offseason will be a disaster. Let's get the obvious statement out the way. However, with that being said, is he worth a max contract? No. Does it matter? Like Kaza said, no, doesn't matter. What I'm gonna tell you what does matter right now. Optics matter right now for the Charlotte Hornets. Not just to fans, not just for podcasters, not just for people who pay to go to games, but other potential free agents who may want to come here one day. That's why it matters. What does it say? If you tell Miles Bridges, now we don't think you're worth it, but Gordon Hayward is still making $30 million. What does it say? What does it say if you don't sign LaMelo Ball's running mate, whom you're going to have to re-sign in a couple of seasons as well? What does it say? Now, as far as salary cap situations and basketball stuff, it would kind of make sense for you to say, hey, Miles, go find your max. In a basketball sense, that makes sense. For an optic sense, for building your future with this franchise, it would make no sense to not re-sign Miles Bridges. Give that man his money. Let's put this to rest, and let's try to make the best out of this season coming forward. Now, as far as free agency and other things that may happen in the offseason, Mitch Kupchak has came out and said, do not look for a big splash this offseason, which I'm totally fine with, man. There's really not somebody out there that I realistically think like we can get anyway. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be surprised if Kemba Walker made a return to Charlotte, quite honestly. I am very interested to see what happens with Isaiah Thomas going forward. And if he doesn't re-sign, does that open the door for Kemba Walker to come back? Kemba Walker is a Steve Clifford guy through and through. Don't get it twisted. Steve Clifford would jump for joy if Kemba Walker wanted to come back here. Make no mistake about it, man. Outside of that, like Mitch said, don't look for anything. Don't look for any fireworks this offseason, man. I think the team we have now won't be much different going into the offseason. I really don't.
Yeah, I do think Cody Martin is a little bit of a question mark. But if they have freed up money to re-sign Miles Bridges, they're going to have some left on the back end for Cody, provided he doesn't.
Kaza, let me cut you off. You know what I'm about to ask you, right? If we re-sign Cody Martin, do we really want James Bouknight on the bench pouting for another year? I mean, seriously, because
So, all right. So, all right. This is a question I'm going to ask to everyone in the chat. Has Cody Martin earned his right to an extension and playing time over James Bouknight? There's your answer. If the answer is yes, then hey, Bouknight, he's got to pay his dues like everyone else, just like Cody Martin did. Even though
and Steve Clifford will damn sure make sure he earns his
absolutely. Right. Now, if you don't feel, if you're one of those people that don't like Cody Martin and feel like the answer is no, then the front office may feel that way as well. I will say that after Cody Martin got COVID, his numbers declined, but before that, the first half of the season,
he was playing lights out, man.
He was killing it, and I think that his agent is going to present that to the team. Hey, look at what my guy was doing. You know, when the season started. What is Cody Martin worth? 10 to 12 million? No more. 12 million is the high. That's like
don't. Any more than that is crazy. Yeah.
I think right at 10 million is about where Cody Martin should be re-signed at if they decide to re-sign him at all. So I think that's going to be the one to watch. That and Isaiah Thomas, but I think the Hornets feel like for some reason they never feel like backup point guard is like that much of an issue. But
I agree,
it is. So
yeah,
I'd love to see IT stay. Love to see him stay. But we've said this before. I think other teams are now looking at what he can do, and he'll probably take a shot with another team where he's going to have a bigger role. That may open the door for Kemba Walker to come back. So,
yeah, well, it's good. I'll say this much, man. Even though I don't expect a lot of fireworks, the Hornets are going to make it interesting somehow, some way, and I hope that's a good thing. That's all I can say.
Oh boy, this is
fun times around here, man.
Yeah, just boy, I can't wait for the season to start, man. Actually, I can't wait for the summer league to start, and that leaves the last topic. Brady Manick. Brady Manick is going to be playing for the Hornets in the summer league. That's very interesting because Hornets fans hate tall white guys from any college, really, but
really from Duke of North Carolina.
Really from Duke of North Carolina. I was really surprised to hear that. And I like Brady Manick. I thought he played well in the tournament. I thought he had a pretty good game in the final, the championship game. I don't know. What are your thoughts on?
I am a Brady Manick fan. I think he was the linchpin for that Tar Heels team. I think he did all the dirty work. He can really shoot the ball. For his lack of athleticism, man, he makes up for it. He's tough. You know what I mean? He's gritty. I'm a fan of Brady Manick, man. With that being said, I don't know if there's room on this roster for him. Quite honestly, man. I mean, who's he making his roster over? Nick Richards may be in question. Kuboka, maybe you cut him. I mean, other than that, man, I just don't know if he makes this roster. But I think he makes a roster somewhere, but not for the Hornets, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Some team in the NBA will look and say, okay, I want, I hate to say it, but he comes across as the stereotypical like gritty white dude, big man, which like a lot of teams like that kind of player. You gotta have like one of those on your team,
right?
And I think some team will take a look at him, but kudos to the Hornets. Wonder where all this leaves LiAngelo Ball though.
Is it okay to say I don't care? Is that cool to say? I'm sorry. My bad. I don't care.
Hey, Milwaukee just signed Giannis's brother to an extension.
Yeah. Right? It's signed Thanasis and the other one, whoever the other brother is. Maybe we get him here too, man. That'll be dope.
Oh boy, yeah, I can't wait. Summer League.
Hey man, I'm excited about Summer League though. Seriously, I do want to see what these young.
Yeah, I never get excited about Summer League. I never get excited. I watch it, but I never get excited about it. But I think this is going to be a very interesting summer league. I really want to see Mark Williams play. as well as James Bouknight. I hope he plays summer league. I hope he doesn't pull a Monk.
I think he is. I don't think we'll see much of him in summer league, if at all.
As to summer league, play in summer league.
I have a weird feeling if he does play, we won't see a lot. And for a different reason, I don't think we'll see a lot of Kai Jones in summer league. I think the Hornets are like, we know what we got from this guy. We don't need to see him a lot in summer league.
I agree with that. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Kai Jones, but I still think if they should go. I think if the Hornets say, okay, hey, all of our second-year guys, you can be on the summer league roster, at least go.
Yeah, no doubt.
Play a lot, at least go. Don't be like some other players, former Hornets did, and feel like they were too good. Don't feel like you are too good to do what the team asks you to do.
Right. Absolutely, man.
All right. One quick question before we go to shout-outs. Did we release Montrez? Not officially.
Not officially.
Officially. So,
I think the short answer to that question, man, I think that's complicated right now. I don't think there is a real answer to that question right now, man. That's all what's happening.
Well, because here's the thing: if they just release him before
they got to pay, they
still got to pay him. So, whereas if he is convicted of a crime, then they can release him without penalty.
Right.
I think they're waiting to see. Honestly, I think his lawyer is going to find some way to get a lesser charge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any way that he's going to plead not guilty to trafficking and then go to trial for trafficking. Because by definition, they would get him for trafficking. So they're going to have him plead down to some lesser charge, and there's going to be some legal finagling, and then the Hornets will find some way to move him, I think, without paying him. So yeah.
And by the way, y'all, if we lose a summer league game to anybody, please don't have a meltdown like y'all do. Good God.
Right. Here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna lose to like Latvia.
Yeah,
like the Latvia junior teenage team or something. And James Bouknight won't play. Like he just won't play. And you know what? People are going to be like, oh, my God. We could have won if only the savior, James Bouknight.
Oh, man. Played. Oh, God. This is going to be a fun season, boy. For better or for worse. It's going to be fun.
And this will be the most media attention the Hornets have seen in a long time.
Kyle, get ready, boy. It's going to be hot take central this season, brother. So just get ready, man. Yeah.
Wait till Russell Westbrook comes, man.
Hey, you know what? On that note, man, shout outs. That's a good.
It's happening. It seems like every year for the past 5 years, man, the Hornets going to get Russell Westbrook. And one of these days it's going to happen.
Hey, hey, man, one more thing. Remember during the trade deadline, Mitch Cousins was like, don't expect us to make any moves or do anything. And then Montrezl Harrell comes here this summer. Oh, don't expect us to make any big splashes. Yeah, I'm going to just leave it at that.
We're going to get Russell Westbrook and Miles Turner. We're going to be lit.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, my God, it's going to be crazy. Cannot wait. All right, we'll answer one more. What do we see? JT Thor and Jalen. Man, we forgot about JT Thor. Oh my gosh. Jalen, oh my gosh. Boy, this is actually a great question because Clifford, I think, would like Jalen McDaniels for the same reason James Berry.
They be like him. Yep. I think he's gonna be a Clifford guy.
And I think he's gonna be a Clifford guy more than JT Thor is. Yeah. Mainly because I like JB liked to play McDaniels sometimes. It just at either wing, at the 3 or the 2. JT was better.
And the 4. Played at 4.
Yeah, the 4 as well, yeah. Whereas JT Thor really you want him at the 4. And I think that extra versatility Jalen McDaniels has is going to keep getting him minutes. Personally, y'all know me, I would love to see JT Thor get those minutes. But man, yeah, great question. That's going to be an interesting.
I'll tell you, it's a good problem to have. I was just say, let them compete and let them fight for minutes. That's my simple answer to that question, man.
Yeah.
They do a lot of the same things. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that'll be a competitive. They'll be competing for minutes, basically.
Hey, I agree with Joshua here. Westbrook, he's a dog.
No doubt.
You know, I've actually been an advocate for. So this next season, especially at this point, in my opinion, is a throwaway season.
Really? You think so?
Maybe not a throwaway season, but I mean, do we really think the Hornets are going to the ECF?
I was going to say it's a season without expectations to be contenders. I think that's a better way to put it, maybe.
Exactly. So why not dump Hayward and Rozier to LA, get rid of their contracts, get Russell Westbrook for 1 year, have him put the fear of God into these young kids, and then let his contract fall off. And now we got $50 million to spend on a free agent next season.
I was going to say something. I think the good term to use to the season is a bridge season. This is a bridge season.
Yes.
And look, man, you kind of sold me a little bit on Westbrook being a good bridge along with the kind of season. My only concern is Westbrook and LaMelo playing together. And if that's going to stunt LaMelo in any way if they're on the floor too much together. That's my only concern. The rest of it I agree with. We need a dog to yell at some of these young. Westbrook is the perfect guy to do that. But just on the court, though, is where I'm just like, that concerns me a lot, man.
Yeah, it's a long ass bridge, bro. This bridge long as hell. Tired of driving across it.
It is. You know what? I can't even say anything. It is, bro. It really is. Yes, it is. You got us. Yes. It is. It's a damn China wall of China.
Like, damn, bro. On that note, you got any shout outs or shout outs, bro?
I want to shout at the NFL, EA Sports, and John Madden. Madden, if you come out with the shit game like you have for the last 12 years, I say 9 years, just do the right thing and give up the exclusive license. Yeah. Like, you are cheating the integrity of business in video games by cheating your fans and your customers with this mediocre crap that you keep coming out with every single year, man. I bring this up because the beta is out. You know, the beta program is out with Madden. There's some people who are playing it, man. And quite honestly, I'm just not hearing good things about it. And I'm really over this exclusive license deal with them. I want to see NFL 2K game back, man. And I want to see competition. I want to see Madden make better games. I'm a video game guy, and I'm just not a fan of this, man. So my shout out for today goes to EA Sports, the NFL, and Madden Football. And I don't think I have any other shout outs today, bro.
It's funny you mention that because actually, so I'm real big into emulation.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, you know, people are able to emulate game consoles on their PC. And finally, someone has been able to get the emulation on the original Xbox about at 100%, at least to the point where you can play the old ESPN 2K games on it. And thus, I've gone back to playing ESPN NFL 2K5 with updated rosters. So yeah, I got Cam Newton starting ahead of Sam Darnold in 2K5, and we're 1-1. We dropped the first one against the Packers, but we beat the hell out of the Chiefs, man. I don't know. I'm having fun. I'm having more fun playing 2K5 I mean, that game is almost 20 years old now. Then I have not played. I didn't play Madden last season or the year before, so I'm still boycotting Madden. And actually, there's a group of modders that have come out and made updates to ESPN 2K5 with updated graphics and rosters and stuff like that because people are tired of Madden. So I agree.
I'm one of them. Hey, you know what? Hey, I don't think I have ever in my life agreed with Schiff, but I agree with him on one thing. I'm also sick and tired of Miles throwing these little stupid subliminals on Twitter. I'm with you on that, bro. I'm sick of it, man. Miles, see, that's the maturity crap I'm talking about. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about with these kids. Miles, get off Twitter and handle business however you're going to handle it, man. Shut up. Get off Twitter, please.
Yeah,
I agree, man.
I'm with you there. I don't want to see that from Hornets players. Just play ball.
Any business, man. You got any shout outs or anything?
I'm gonna shout out the Black Sports Symposium from last week.
Yeah, Rodney went, man.
Rodney went. So did Danny Thompson, our good friend Danny went. Met a lot of good people, a lot of good seminars. I wish I could have gone, but I was on vacation. So maybe next year I'll make the trip to Atlanta if they have it there. It seemed pretty good. Deion Sanders spoke there. It was absolutely great. Other than that, just a general shout out to the sun.
Stop sounding so damn bright.
Yeah, please stop what you are doing. We get it. We understand. Okay. All right.
Oh, Kaza, how the hell did we forget? How in the blue hell did we forget this? Shout at the Supreme Court, man. I don't even have to say it. It ain't a lot to say, bro.
I just feel like, I'm not.
I don't even want to get into it.
Not with a 10-foot pole. I have a lot to say. Man. I have a lot to say about a lot of things.
That's a whole nother show. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Just everyone, just take care of each other. That's really all we can do in these trying times.
We are on our own.
Is to take care of each other because our government will not take care of us. No matter what side of the aisle you fall on, just know that side will not take care of you.
Take care of yourself out here, man.
Exactly. So we got to take care of each other. And I'd like to thank you guys for taking care of us. To have 19 viewers, an hour and 20 minutes into our broadcast. That's a good feeling, actually.
Hey, listen, man. Sometimes I'm an asshole in the Hornets group, but I really, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate y'all checking us out this Sunday. Check us out every Sunday, man. We always appreciate the viewers. We always appreciate y'all coming in, interacting with us, whether you agree with us or not, man. We always love when y'all do this. So very much appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Oh yeah, please don't encourage Miles to take it to the streets. Yeah, no.
Nah, that's not a good idea. That's.
I'm telling you, I still think that he was the one selling more cocaine.
You know what? On that note, man, y'all have a good.
He's trying to tell us in his raps.
I'm going to predict the Hornets will give us something else to talk about for next week. So
please give us something else to talk about. Hey, y'all take care. Love y'all.